The following podcast contains some strong language and some very average opinions. It's probably best if you don't listen at all.
The Roaring Peacock Podcast.
You're listening to the Roaring Peacock main cast. My name is Adonis. You know me from the Adelites. With me is Ross from the Man on the Post Pod.
Good evening.
And small face merchant Alex.
Good afternoon.
Starting off with the news this week. On Saturday, Liverpool played Leeds in our first game back in the Premier League for 16 years. It was, of course, 4-3. On Monday, Rodrigo de Paul replied to the square ball with a fingers crossed and then immediately deactivated his account. Wednesday, Leeds made Kiko Casilla captain of the first team squad as they drew 1-1 with Hull in the Carabao Cup, which Hull won on penalties. And on the same night, Samu Saiz, the ghost of Christmas past, scored against Barcelona. How was your week, lads?
Been busy from a Leeds point. And we also signed a player during this week as well.
Yeah, Jimmy Somerville from
Young Jimmy.
Communards. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jimmy Somerville. Yeah, and we released a documentary as well.
We have.
Oh, yeah.
It's been a busy week. It's only Thursday. Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
You know what we need with all this news? We need more podcasts to deliver it.
Well, I think we're at 24 now, I think somebody said. So I think if we have a podcast just to cover what podcasts miss out, so yeah, we could probably get away with that.
That's a great idea.
That's brilliant. And I saw the idea of a podcast about the Leeds podcasts.
It's just at different levels of meta, isn't it? I kind of like the idea of a
Summarising
massive
all of
amalgamation of all of the names, and we just all get together and just talk rubbish at each other for half an hour.
Yeah.
That'd work.
One huge podcast.
Yeah.
18 faces on the screen or whatever, and just everyone just yelling over the top of each other.
It'd work. It'd be fine. There's definitely worse podcasts on the internet.
There's a worse podcast right here, and you're involved in it, mate. Terrible.
Where are we going to start?
So what did you make of that week, lads?
To be honest, it's been a lot of listening to other clubs tell us that we're either really good to watch or we're going to go down, because the crying, laughing emoji has been used quite a lot by Man United fans at us losing to Liverpool and then losing to Hull with a massively changed side. Oh, you're going to go straight down, lads? Okay, great.
Yeah.
Come to us on Saturday. Just tell us what happens at Fulham. But I'm quite happy with us going out of that competition, because I think #concentrating on the league. I think that's back from the League One days. I'd rather see us stay up in the league comfortably than have some sort of cup competition and go down. So I'm sort of okay with that. It's never good to lose, but I'm okay with it. But yeah, and documentary wise, I've not watched it yet. I've only watched the first 45 minutes of the first episode, which is really good. It's good to watch, but I don't think it's going to have the same appeal to a third party than the first one did, because the storytelling isn't there as much. It just seems like it's a chop up of footage, and
It's like a season recap video, isn't it? That we used to
yeah,
play.
yeah,
Just
with a little bit more. I don't know, a little bit more introspect and a bit more access to the players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've not watched the doc yet. I've not had time. I've been at work since it's been out. But yeah, I'm looking forward to watching that tonight. And yeah, same opinions really, Alex. I could not care less about that cup. I saw someone tweet this morning that we can now play a maximum of 44 games this season, whereas last season we played more than that in just the league. That already is a plus for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's one of those things where it only really matters if you win it, I think, or if you get to the final. And yeah, I mean, 96 is burned into my brain, and surely everyone's brain who experienced that. And yeah, just remember the second leg at Birmingham, second leg at Ellen Road playing Birmingham, and we knew we were going to go to Wembley and singing, Que sera, sera, whatever will be, we're going to Wembley. And that feeling of going to a cup. Yeah, that obviously at the time, we didn't know that we were going to lose 3-0. we just knew that we were going to Wembley, and that was such a great feeling. And I think Yeboah scored like an overhead kick, and yeah, it was a terrible, terrible season in the league, and that cup run really saved it.
Yeah, good kits that season though. It was really good kits, but
yeah, fantastic kits. Little turtleneck.
That's it.
Keep your neck warm.
I remember that because we were watching it. We had a house party. We had people round and a barbecue and everything to watch the game. And I've never seen like a party go downhill so fast. It's like, right, you're all going to go home now? Yeah, cool, thanks.
Yeah.
But I was 13, I think, and I'd got up early in the morning because I couldn't sleep, and I'd turned on FIFA 96, and I'd set a 90-minute game to play computer against computer to simulate what I was going to see later on in that day, and we lost 25-6. So I thought, that's not a good omen, but we'll still win. And then, yeah, whatever happened. So, strange day. But I remember going out in the street like at half time, and the streets were deathly quiet. I think that's back then when everybody, if you lived in a Leeds postcode, you supported Leeds and nothing else on pain of death. There was nobody on the streets. There were no cars, nothing. Everybody were watching that final. It's just a shame about the result.
I remember watching it with my dad in our dining room on a little 17-inch TV, and just being thoroughly depressed. I was 12 years old, and this was like the first time football had really depressed me.
Yeah.
Because we just looked all over the place. Carlton Palmer, Mark Ford, and central midfield. I'm looking at the team lineup now. Jesus.
Carlton Palmer was always all over the place. I'll argue to my dying day that he was never a player. He was never a player.
The team and the formation are just hideous. Like Luke Kitchen goal, Radaby, Weatherall, Pemberton centre backs, Gary Kelly and Speed as left and right wing backs. Central midfield of Carlton Palmer, Mark Ford, and Gary Mack, and then Tony Yeboah and Andy Gray up top.
Yeah, there's goals in there. There's goals in that formation.
Was it?
Yeah. Bad memories.
The thing about Palmer is I always seem to remember he used to run sideways along the pitch.
Yeah.
That's never seen someone run sideways so much in my life.
And he didn't like that turtleneck either, did he? Because he had to always cut off a section because his neck was too big, probably.
Square, yeah. Oh, well, we're out of the Coca-Cola Cup this season. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, the Coca-Cola Cup now. Yes. No, it's called BTEC Red Bull. That's what it is now.
Did anyone really care, though? Like, I saw that team line up and I thought, I'm not paying £10 to watch this. And it was streamed live on the Leeds YouTube channel as well.
Was it?
So, people that paid are fuming today.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
I was out, so I wasn't going to watch it anyway. I'm such a plastic.
They dropped a brick there.
All about the Premier League now, Alex.
Yeah, that's it. So, yeah, I didn't watch it. I only caught the penalties, like really plastics. Oh, we might win now. I might watch. So, yeah, I watched that and got it spoiled for me anyway because my stream was behind and it came through on WhatsApp. Well, I'm glad that's over. Cheers, DK. You won't listen anyway because you don't like this. So, yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I was following along basically Phil Hay and Graham Smith's Twitter, and it's just like, yeah, I don't care. I'm not sad that I'm missing what's going on in this game.
Seems like I'm the only one who actually watched it then. So,
mate.
So it's a great podcast, this, isn't it? We're so learned and, and experienced in what we're talking about.
Not that my opinion actually mattered.
How was it?
Anyway,
it sounded
whether
great.
I watched it or not.
Go on, educate us then. What was it like?
Well, I've hesitantly titled this little match report "The Good, the Bad, and the Understandable." So go through the good first. Shackleton looked very strong, quick, and confident. There was a moment where he was running back to cover, and you could it was a long ball over the top from Hull, and it was basically Shackleton and what's his name? Used to play for us, Mallet Wilkes, and Kiko. Shackleton could see Kiko, like the fire in his eyes, like I'm coming for this, and Shackleton's like puts up his hand. No, you're not. No, stay back. Before. I've got this. So I thought that was brilliant from the young lad. Burgess, he looked really good at times, battling for the ball. Rodrigo looked so quick. Roberts, there was one play where Roberts dropped to right back to collect the ball, and he ended up like on the diagonal opposite end and the attacking corner, winning a corner. So he started off that play, and I just thought that was a really nice movement. And Alioski was working like very hard, like he always is, and tried to make things happen. He blazed one into the beastern sky over the Norman Hunter stand and off and away. There you go. Someone can have a free ball.
Yeah.
But he did score in the end. So, and then the bad, we looked off the pace. We looked a little bit unmotivated, but I mean, we weren't playing Liverpool, and there was no flow, and there seemed like zero ideas, like no space down the left-hand side, basically. There was Davis, Douglas and Alioski on that left-hand side.
Oh, God.
And there wasn't a lot of movement off the ball, so they were just kind of, they were all cramped on that left-hand side, and there was nowhere to move for them. So everything we created came down the right with Poveda. Poveda, Roberts and Rodrigo, they were trying a lot of tricks and flicks and back heels, and you could tell they were trying to engineer some flow, but it wasn't really working that well. And I just would have liked to have seen them just try and do the basics a bit more.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people say that Roberts was just trying back heels all night, and it just wasn't working.
Yes. Someone even put a meme about it.
Ship him off to Derby, get some money in. He's useless.
I think does that help the club make some decisions now? Then who's in that lineup, who's actually staying? Because I think there's been offers for Douglas, hasn't there? I think Celtic were in for Douglas, so that might inform that. And does it help us pull the trigger on DePaul? Because it shows that our depth isn't as deep as we thought, and we will need to draw on that during the season. Although we've got less games now, we're still going to need them guys. Do we need a little bit more quality in reserve?
Yeah, I think we do. Some of the guys, this was their chance to really shine. And I mean, League One Hull, they're terrible. Even with this team, we probably should have beaten them. Yeah. But it's just the lineup and the fact that Phillips was on the bench, Melia was on the bench, Harrison, Bamford, didn't bring any of those on. Bale's just taking the blame for this loss, but he didn't. I don't think he really cared, did he? I think this was more viewed as a pre-season friendly almost. Yeah,
I mean, in the post-match, I saw the post-match press conference, and he was saying that it was sad that he's out of the competition and stuff like that. But like you said, the substitution that he's chosen aren't the ones that he's desperate to win.
Yeah,
it's not like we're going all out attack or anything like that. So,
Robbie Gott's actually got on the field. That's how much he doesn't care about winning.
I was only talking about Robbie Gotts actually earlier when I was watching the documentary. It's like when he scored that goal against... I'm going to show my knowledge now. One of the Australian teams out in Australia.
Yeah.
He scored an absolute screamer. And I thought at that point we were going to see a lot more of him that season, and we didn't see anything. So there's something that's happened in his development that we need to look at. But he's a good player, but he didn't do much. So.
And my third little part of it, part 3, was understandable. And I have played a lot of reserve team football in my life because I've never quite been good for anybody's first team.
Well, you see myself. Yeah.
As you can tell from being on this podcast, we're definitely the reserve team podcast of the Leeds United podcast community.
I wouldn't even make the reserves. I don't think I'd make the trials to make the oranges at half time. So never mind that.
Have you seen this guy who's trying to clean the boots? This guy's terrible.
He's got it wrong again.
He's got boot polish on white boots.
How do you get cleaning boots wrong?
Sorry, mister, I've got it wrong again. I just want to be a part of it, and I've got it wrong.
Basically, when you're playing in a reserve team, it's very, very difficult to get. In FIFA they call it chemistry or whatever, so you've got zero chemistry. But it really is like that. There's not a lot of flow to the game.
Yeah.
And when you're sort of not thinking about something, you're so used to doing it, then you get into this kind of the zone, they call it, and you get into this flow. And teams do that as well. So when they've played so much together, you know without thinking or without looking where the other player is going to be, what the other player is going to do. Yeah. So there's really very little chemistry in that, and that's a huge part of team sports. It doesn't really matter, I don't think, how good those individuals are. So when you looked at Rodrigo's performance, for example, you could see that there's an absolutely fantastic player in there, but because the flow wasn't there, so the play was always stop-start, and and a lot of misplaced passes and a lot of passes where you expect someone to run and they don't, or they come back for the ball. So it's just little things like that I think are understandable and forgivable. I think another point that's understandable is Wilkes, Coyle, and Batty. They came to prove a point.
Yeah, Wilkes especially, by the sounds of it.
And Coyle, I thought he played absolutely brilliantly. I
rated him as a player at Leeds.
He was a big part of us not getting any penetration down the left-hand side. Yeah. Sorry, Elliot.
No, I was just saying that I rated him as a player at Leeds. So I thought it was a shame that he didn't come through and play for us a little bit more. But did he even get an appearance? He lived at Fleetwood, didn't he, essentially?
Yeah.
But yeah.
It was him and Tyler Denton, wasn't it? They were the two big fullback hopes and never really made it.
But I think going back to your point there, I think it just shows that you can't transplant a world-class player into an average team and get a bigger than average team. Yeah. It's not going to. It needs the groundwork, and I think that's what we showed against Liverpool as well. Is that the two players that were the most rusty and caused mistakes were the two new guys. So yeah, it wasn't going to happen. I'm kind of glad it didn't, and we're out of it now.
Agreed.
And the last understandable point is that it was their cup final. You know, of course it was, and it was very reminiscent to me of the FA Cup game with Scum in 2010. You know, where we knocked a goal in. We were obviously so motivated, and we knocked a goal in quite early doors, and then we did frustrate them a lot, and that's what Hull did a lot. They time wasted. They made a lot of niggly challenges and fouls. They got in our faces, and they gave us a lot of sort of classic Northern English gritty football tactics.
Right. Yeah. Not pretty.
And especially for a player like Rodrigo, that was, you know, I mean, you remember when Alioski first came into the team and he was trying the Ailing flop all over the place, and just wasn't working for him because it's not refereed the same as on the continent. And I think that's what happened to Rodrigo a bit last night as well. He was looking at the ref like, why aren't you giving me fouls for this? Yeah. And the ref was looking at him like, you're in England now, mate. You know, get on with it.
Is something broken? Get up. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right to say that is their cup final. I mean, unless they're really looking forward to that Donny league game they've got. I mean, this is the biggest game they're going to play this season, and fair play to them, they won. Yeah,
there's a lot of banter going on, the Leeds asterisk DS thing, which they don't want to mention Leeds. So,
God.
Yeah, they enjoyed it. Let them enjoy it. You know, they're from Hull. They haven't really got much else to look forward to. They're not the what was it, City of Culture? I don't think they're that.
Not anymore.
I think they got stripped off them. They've got two rugby teams who are in dire straits. The Sea.
The whole
bridge.
City Tigers, for fuck's sake.
Yeah. There was one bit in one of the pens where the keeper was doing the Mauled by the Tigers thing.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I noticed that. It didn't go unnoticed, but yeah, I'm really not bothered. I mean, it shows if that was a league game, I wouldn't have gone and played five-a-side.
Yeah,
that just shows how bothered I was by it. And if that makes me a plastic fan, cool.
Do you think we can start something like Pecked by the Peacocks?
I think somebody tried that, didn't they? Didn't they? Yeah, you've got the actions on. Yeah, so that's just you on your own doing that now because nobody else is going to do that. You seen that Pecked by the Peacocks bloke? He's doing it again.
He needs help, that one.
Not saying that. Everybody, I don't know if you guys have noticed the same, but there's always characters in stand. Like, that wouldn't go unnoticed in N11 where I sit. There's a guy that shouts, "Get it forward!" every 5 seconds. There's a guy that tries to get the clapping rhythm done and nobody joins in. The guy that calls somebody a penis every 5 seconds. No other insult exists for that guy. There's a guy that sits in front of us who just wears flip-flops no matter what the weather. It's brilliant. So I think you'd fit in. just come and do your peacock thing. It doesn't really work well on an audio medium. So if you're watching us as a podcast, try and find the YouTube clip of that, and we'll GIF it, YouTube. And we'll just use that forever.
Yeah, I do forget that. Yeah, it's a good point. But the thing is, that's probably how the Mauled by the Tigers thing started. There was just one guy doing Mauled by the Tigers, and other people were just like looking at him like, what the fuck is that guy doing? Yeah. What's he doing?
just one guy gets attacked by a wasp during a game. He's like, oh, that looks amazing. Let's do that and sing Mauled by the Tigers to it. And that's how it starts. The beginning of a legend.
There was a guy who used to sit like 4 or 5 rows in front of us, and he used to yell at the players who came over to take a throw in. I don't remember, like, he just came up with so many of them that they kind of wash through you eventually. You can't really like remember specific ones, but I do remember the funniest one was when Tony Adams came over to take a throw in, and he just stood up, and it was quite quiet, and he goes, "Adams, you're a gargoyle." It was so fucking funny, man.
Well thought.
A gargoyle.
Nice.
My stepdad did something similar when we first started going to games, so we were only young, and there were a really bad refereeing decision, and he stood up, and I think he was going to launch a volley of abuse, but then realised he had young kids with him, quite impressionable kids, and he went, "You fat dwarf." Never forget that. And everybody just laughed at him because they knew what he was trying to say, but he just couldn't say it. And that was the family stand for you in 1993. So
nice.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that was in the family stand. I used to go with my mum back in the day. It was our thing to do. Yeah, if you younger listeners, if you don't know who Adams is, just Google search Tony Adams, and you'll see why. And then he does some punditry.
Look for the gif of him doing that training session when he was a manager of a club. I can't remember what it was. And it's just, that's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. It makes no sense. And you can see the players look at him like, is this guy all right? He looks like that Peacocks guy from Ellen Road.
One more time. Okay. Definitely not doing that again. Okay, so just finishing off on that whole match review, I've got a tweet from Johnny Cooper, who works at the Opta Stats, I think it's called. And tonight was only the second match in the club's history. So that's 4,579 games to feature 9 players aged 21 or younger. So it was Casey, Creswell, Davis, Roberts, Pervader, Bogus, Shackleton, Strauch, and Gotts.
And if you didn't attend all 4,500, where have you been?
Yeah, where were you when we had our 4,579th game?
Where were you when you were an embryo? No, it's a decent stat, that, isn't it? So
yeah,
it's good to know that we've got the young ones in there. But I think have we got any other choice? Have we got a second senior string that we could use? Because Bielsa likes the small squad, don't he? So I think that's what we're going to do.
This worries me for when Bielsa leaves. We're just going to get an influx of just bang average second string first team players, aren't we?
Yeah. No, well, we get Carlos Corberán back, and
True.
He basically is then the proto Bielsa because he's already got Town doing murder ball, hasn't he? So
murder ball TM.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Carlos Corberán's grueling murder ball trademark.
That's it.
That was Jamie Shack's 50th appearance for Leeds last night.
Was it really?
Yeah,
already.
Yeah. Before he's even turned 21, apparently he joins other players such as James Milner, David Batty, Norman Hunter, Billy Bremner, and John Giles. Not bad.
I remember seeing him at York the first season that we had Bielsa, and he was playing at York in the pre-season friendly, and he looked really impressive. I wanted to see Ideguchi because I thought he was going to be fantastic, and he wasn't. I think he was playing in centre back or something like that in that game. But yeah, Shackleton properly impressed, and the guy behind me goes, "He looks like he were a right dickhead at school." Good assessment.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
I think it was Bolton that we played in the Carabao Cup and we won 2-1. Was it Preston? One of those teams. One of those really forgettable Lancashire teams. And so one of them useless, annoying, irrelevant clubs. and saw Shackleton play there, and we were just like, how small is that kid?
Yeah.
Like my fiance is quite small, and we were like, I think he's shorter than you. He's so short. I couldn't believe it.
Still wins headers though, to be fair.
Okay, so I thought we'd talk about the documentary now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gathering that once again, you've both let the team down, and I'm the only one who's actually watched it.
It came out today.
Is
I've
that
got a
right,
day job,
gentlemen?
Yeah, I've been
Crying
out
out
since 6
loud.
o'clock this morning. What was I supposed to do?
My mum came round when I had a break between meetings today and made a coffee and stuff like that. And she hasn't got Amazon Prime. So she's like, oh, well, can we watch this documentary then?
Yeah, nice.
So, all right, okay. And I had about 45 minutes before my next meeting. So I'm like, yeah, watch that. And then got to the end. I'm like, well, I've got a call to do. You can stay and watch it if you want. Oh, no. Go. So we've got to watch the rest of it. So. But yeah,
What did you make of that first episode?
There's no sort of story arc. I don't think like there was in the first season where I think you could watch that as a neutral and understand it and get if you remove the fact that it's real life, you could probably get the story arc and watch it as a series almost.
Yeah.
But with this one, it feels like it's just an addendum to the first series. It's just basically tying up the loose ends. It doesn't have the same sort of story arc for me. Because I think because we all know how it ends, we all know what's going to happen, we know what's happening next, and it's difficult. It was difficult for me to realise that when they're talking about pre-season, they're talking about pre-season last season.
Yeah,
because I'm watching it thinking, no, it's this season. We've already gone up, and why is Shima Roof still here? So it took a little while to adjust. But yeah, I'll definitely will, certainly watch the rest of it, but I don't think it's going to have the same widespread pull that the first one did.
No, definitely not. Yeah, I think there was a lack of a coherent script that kind of took you through step by step. I think that was a bit of a criticism of the first one as well. In the even on something like the Tottenham documentary or even the Damned United, the film, they had these sequences of motion graphics where they would show you the league position, and it changing over time depending on the results. In a kind of real time when they were showing you the footage and the games and linking that all in with the story. And I think that it's no doubt that's a difficult thing to do. It's a difficult thing to bring all those elements together and it work cohesively. Yeah. But it is possible because there are some examples of it done really well, and I don't think it was. So for me, that was part of it. It felt a bit rushed. It did feel like a lot of highlights all clobbered together over some sort of questionable music for my part. I wrote down here that, KP was on Soccer AM the other day, and he was saying that Tyler Roberts is the best dancer in the squad.
Right.
And he was saying that he likes to pull some shapes as well. And Tubbs was like, oh, do you like a good rave or whatever? And KP was like, I'm from Leeds, I love a rave. And me too, but I like my raves and my documentaries fairly separate. And
yeah, they don't intertwine those two things really.
I think if the content wasn't so strong, I probably wouldn't have kept watching it because it was extremely distracting for me. But even with the issues that the documentary had, the content was so strong and relatable, obviously, for all Leeds fans that there was no getting away from some of the beautiful moments that they captured on film. And I think at the end of the day, you kind of have to just say, well, at least we got that. At least we got something.
Yeah, and we'll have that years to come. Because I think, 10 years, 20 years down the line, watching that will be a different feeling than it is now.
Yeah, definitely.
I would love to get my hands on that raw footage because I would love to give a documentary a crack. like the Bielsa years kind of, and like go from before and then to that. And I think, one of the things that they missed out, this isn't really a spoiler, but one of the things they missed out, I would have loved to have seen that moment when Berardi was asked how he was feeling on the bus. And he said, "I feel fucking great," and the whole crowd is like, "Yeah!"
But I wanted him to, when he said that, "I feel fucking great." He's like, "No, seriously, Barry, your leg's hanging off. How are you feeling?" But apparently, I saw a story. I didn't click through because it looked really clickbait, and I don't like giving clickbait stuff a click through. But please subscribe to the podcast. There was saying that he's going to be back a lot quicker than we thought. So.
I'd love for him to make just an appearance in the Premier League. I think he deserves it.
Yeah. From that karate kick that he did to get sent off on his debut to playing in the Premier League. That's a right journey, is that?
That's still my favourite Berardi moment as well.
Yeah.
Like, welcome to Leeds. This is what I can do.
Yeah. I watched that live. I sat in the North Lower, I think it was, and you just saw him just leave the ground. I was like, what was that? I was like, he's gonna go. Yeah, he's gone. Like nobody had any complaints. He took the ball, ref. Took the ball. No, he nearly took his head. There was no ball involved.
What's that track where it's like dun 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 dun? They used to play it to the Olympics. You know, some runner would be like dun 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 dun.
Oh, Chariots of Fire.
Dun. Yeah, is it that? Yeah, probably it is. And I would love to see slow-mo of Berardi's two-footed karate kick to that music.
The thought process, just
the thing of beauty.
Yeah, I'm going to go and jump and get this ball, and then the application of what was in his head just doesn't suit the theory at all.
I don't know where that rumor came about Berardi, and I'm certainly not connected or well connected, and I never pretend to be. But there are a lot of people who do pretend to be well connected and start rumors. I know that all I know is that he's heading back. He's heading back to continue his recovery, and he's going to sign a new contract. That's what I heard. I can't remember where I heard that from. But
regardless of his recovery, I think that's the best thing that the club can do is just looking after him, because he played without a contract towards the end. He essentially risked his playing career to serve the club, and we've got to pay him back for that, I reckon.
He could have done a Lyle Taylor and quit, basically, couldn't he? But,
and it's not like he was uninvolved. He was like a bit part player. He played a lot in them, the post-COVID games. He really, and his performances were great. A lot of people don't rate him. He's probably one of my favourite players just because of who he is. And he's a beautiful man.
He is.
But he's, he wasn't a bit part player. And early, before COVID, I had a conversation with the guys that I go to the game with. And I was saying that you've got Berardi playing out of his skin to put Leeds into a position in the Premier League where he probably won't get a game.
Yeah.
That must be in his mind that, his position would be replaced and by quality. So we've got to reward that, I reckon. So, I mean, it would be really good to see him play in the Premier League and karate kick like a Man United player. Just Pogba getting absolutely slayed down. Yeah, I'd pay to see that.
Okay, so that's the whole match and the documentary covered. Now, we did have a third topic to talk about tonight, and
see ya.
I feel like it's the elephant in the room with Leeds United. The elephant
lockdown's been hard.
Pitch.
There's no need to say that.
The elephant on the pitch in the goalkeeper kit
in Dayglow. Yeah.
I didn't want to talk about Kiko because I don't particularly like being negative or being critical, certainly of somebody who I've never even met. But I do feel like that was a huge statement from the club to make him captain for the night, and I think we have a kind of responsibility just to share our thoughts on it.
Yeah, well, it seems like the players are the ones that decided that Kiko should have been the captain. Now, that surely wouldn't have been the first team, would it? That would have been just the players that were there last night, and just your captain because you're the most experienced. Surely that has to be it.
Yeah, I don't want to pretend that I share the opinions or I can think for the players that have decided that he's the captain, but I think it's been done for the wrong reasons. I think it sends the wrong statement out to people. I think it's... So just to get my position straight on this, so he was found guilty on the balance of probabilities, which seems to be interpreted by people of that he probably did it, probably did, and that could be it. It's not that. This is a standard of proof that's used in employee tribunals up and down the land, and if this was any sort of other industry, Kiko would have lost his job if he worked in a call center, for example, and this whole investigation went, he would lose his job. But he's protected because there's a lot of money in it and there's a contract in there, and he is a talented football player. But when it comes to this, I think because of how both Kiko and the club acted in the aftermath of it, I don't think it's the redemption story that it needs. I think if there would have been an apology, and I think the argument to that, I can see the argument already, is that if he didn't do it and he's adamant that he didn't do it, what would he apologise for? But there is still hurt there. Jonathan Lecco, I don't think, reading through the judgment, I don't think that there's in any way question that he's affected by it, and what was said, and that there were credible witnesses, the two players that were involved. There's been no apology either by Kiko or the club, so that puts us at a disadvantage. There's nothing that's come out of like any sort of remorse or anything like that. It just feels very hollow, and then to kind of sweep it under the carpet and make the guy captain just feels a bit unresolved for me. So sorry, I'll stop ranting now because that's where I'm at.
I think it's important for anybody who, because it was a long time ago now, I think it's important just to get a kind of a refresher of what kind of happened. So what was alleged was Kiko said, you effing N-word. And I think that's just a huge statement and something that absolutely cannot be tolerated. And then, so after the game, it was brought up with the referee, I believe, and the team manager, and then it was brought up again in a WhatsApp message between Tyler Roberts and Jonathan Lecco, because they know each other from West Brom. The statement from Kiko to Tyler Roberts was, "I didn't say that. I said, what's your fucking name?" Basically, that's what Kiko said he said at that time. And then later on, he kind of changed that line, and then his new statement was, "I never heard that word before, and I didn't know that it was a bad word to say," or whatever. So I think they're the two kind of inconsistencies. And he also said, the first time I heard that word was a month after the incident.
Which is unbelievable to me.
That's absolute nonsense.
That's clearly not correct, because at the very least, even if you can believe that he hadn't heard that word before the game, which I think is hard to believe, but okay, maybe. They talked about it. They talked about the accusation of what was said immediately after the game, and with the team manager, and on the coach, and in the subsequent meetings that he had with the team manager.
Yeah, in
the coming days.
So I think, during all of that, they've managed to not say what was actually said. He's still never heard the word at any of this point. It's
right,
unreal.
Exactly,
unreal.
Yeah. So that is why. So if you're listening to this and you don't know why people are angry about it or are having such an issue with it and bring it up over and over again, because there are comments that say, "Oh, if the players are fine with it and Bielsa's fine with it, then Kiko's fine." These are the reasons why people have an issue with it.
I think the biggest one for me is, whenever I mention it on social media or anything like that, I will get quite a backlash. But the question that I've not had satisfactorily answered by anybody who is on the other side from me is if a player from another club was alleged to have said the same thing to one of our players. It was, could be Tyler Roberts, could be Calvin Phillips. Would you support the alleged opposite player in the same way that you support Kiko? And if the answer is no, well, that shows that there is a bias in there and a tribalism that you should not have in these sort of cases. If the answer is the opposite, well, why? Why is it different between two? And why would you dismiss? If you would trust Calvin's word and Tyler's word over Jonathan Leko's word, why? Is it because of the badge that they wear on the shirt? And if so, you need to remove that from anything. It's human beings at the end of the day. It doesn't matter which club they play for. You need to understand that. And the last statement that I'll say on the balance of probabilities, that's the standard of proof. And it was the FA were satisfied that it was above the standard for that standard of proof as well. So it wasn't like it was 51% probable that it happened. It was above that standard. So just to remove anything like that, I think a lot of people could do well to read that again.
Yeah. I think less culturally important than all of that. He's just a bad goalkeeper. Why? Just get rid of him. I know people might not want to take him on because of his wages or whatever, but Elliot Capria is there. That Mirzak's still around, isn't he? There's goalies that could have played instead of him last night. You don't need to bring this on the club. Every time he's anywhere near the first team, he gets brought up. That's what all Twitter was talking about last night, is why Casilla is playing and why he's captain. Yeah. Just don't put yourselves in that situation.
What I would say is that he doesn't have to say sorry if you haven't done anything wrong. If he really didn't say what he was alleged to say, he doesn't have to say sorry. But what he should have done and what he should do is come out with a big statement condemning racism and supporting any anti-racism and the people involved. And I think if he did that, if all he did was do that, and that's so easy to do, he would have put the matter to bed and there wouldn't be any debate at all. Now, if the Bielsa has said that the team, his teammates and Bielsa are satisfied with him, and that's fair enough because we don't know him, we don't work with him day in, day out, but we have a vested interest in this club, and if there is something that has satisfied them, then we want to know about it. We should know about it, especially if he's going to be our captain and walk in the same footsteps as, Lucas Radebe and all of these fantastic captains of the past. Billy Bremner, who used to go around smashing anyone who gave Albert Johansson any stick or any racist remarks. So this is the legacy that this club is built on, is like stamping out racism like the fanzines did in the 80s.
Yeah.
And Billy Bremner stamping it out around the pitch when it happened.
Literally.
And I don't get the impression, I haven't got the impression that he has done that,
Yeah, so all that
publicly.
We've got to go on as fans.
He might have done it privately, but we don't know about that.
So we've got to look at the judgment and read that. And any right-minded person, in my opinion, maybe I'm biased and I'm a damp-eyed idiot or something like that. I got told last night. But yeah, no person can read that and think that the club come out smelling the roses. Yeah. It seems that we acted like it was a cover-up, and it was to best serve the club and to serve Kiko, rather than to serve the allegations of Jonathan Leko and to give it the honesty and integrity that it deserved. So if we just go on that, I think that's why I'm of the opinion that I am. Like you've said, I think that we're missing a part of this puzzle because the club seem to have forgiven him quite readily, but we're not let into what's given them the reason to forgive him so much.
Yeah.
Is it because their standards are lower than ours? I doubt that. I really doubt that, because Bielsa's a man of integrity. So let us in on it. Let us know what we're missing, and I'll be happy to eat my words.
Yeah. I hoped it'd be covered in the documentary, but sadly it wasn't. In the press conference today, Bielsa asked if the press had an idea of what percentage of fans didn't want Kiko captain. And as soon as I heard that, I tweeted out from our account, should Kiko have captained LUFC last night? And we've had 861 votes at the time of recording, and 75% of people voted no, that Kiko shouldn't have captained the team last night. So that is the percentage, and I think that's damning. That's damning enough, isn't it? That shows you what the fans think about it and how little information has come from him to quash what happened and to get his reputation back.
I think just in final thoughts for me, like Jerry Springer, I think everybody's worth a second chance and everybody deserves a redemption story. I don't think that it's possible for Kiko to have that redemption story at Leeds United. I think he could quite happily go somewhere else. He could quite happily do something in the community that would show that he's a man of integrity and he doesn't hold these views, and that, just something. And then he could have that redemption story elsewhere. I don't think it's possible for him to have at this club. And I would be really happy if he did have that redemption story. I don't know the guy, but I think it's a blot on our landscape right now.
Ross, final thoughts on Kiko?
Sell him. Release him. Get him out of the club.
Okay, and just for me, I think, just release that information. Like, just release it to us. Why Bielsa and the team have supported him and voted that he should be captain. Just let us know. Yeah. Okay, that was the most serious topic I hope we'll ever have to cover on the Roaring Peacock, because we are not made for topics like that. Seriously, we're too average for this.
It's nothing I can make a joke about or do a really bad accent about. So
I'm a happy idiot. Okay, do we have any hot takes or more salt, please?
Well, I've been searching through Facebook for hot takes and really bad opinions and stuff, but the Leeds United Facebook page is almost relatively normal. I mean, the spelling is still absolutely atrocious.
Facebook Leeds United is relatively normal. There was once a post that said, "How many MOTs can I get from my dad who's punched a nonce in prison?" It's not normal. It's
relatively normal for Leeds Facebook. But yeah, the main post I've seen on there this week is a girl who's just got a new Leeds shirt, and some of the comments that people have posted on there are not fit for public consumption. It's just some hideous comments in there. But yeah, like, they all seem relatively calm about the new season, which is a bit worrying. Like, where have all these people gone? Where have all the lunatics gone?
Yeah, disappointing for people who need content for a podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Extremely disappointing. We might have to artificially engineer some hot takes.
We've got our ways.
Because I think that performance against Liverpool has just softened us all up. So we've got these two little segments that we're going to hopefully try out. So one is called Hot Take of the Week, where we try and find a interesting, let's say, opinion or a unique opinion from the wonderful LUFC fan base, whether that be on Facebook or Twitter, that might ruffle some peacock feathers. And a little segment called More Salt Please, which is where we will try and find some salty opposition fans and with a particularly good comment to make. So it's been especially difficult this week to find any More Salt Please, because all I read from Liverpool fans was praise for Leeds United Football Club and Marcelo Bielsa and the greatest team in the world. And all I found from Fulham was them basically shitting themselves that we're going to absolutely dick them on the weekend.
Yeah, well, we beat them quite comfortably in the Championship, and we've only got better since then, as proved by against Liverpool. So, yeah, they're rightly terrified. They looked absolutely awful against Arsenal.
So a decent bet on Fulham to win would it'd be good right now.
Yeah.
I think from a hot take of the week thing, rather than a hot take, it's just a whole account. There's a whole account on Twitter that is dedicated to fact-checking Phil Hay because he thinks that he's undermining the club and that he's got an agenda. I won't give his at because you can find it. Yeah. But yeah, there's some very disturbed people about. So.
Yeah, we don't want to induce a social media pile on. So if you do come across these accounts, try and limit your abuse of them, please, and certainly don't blame us.
Just tag Andrea Radrizzani in it as well. Yeah. Andrea sent me.
There was an account that seemed basically set up to say that Rads had short hands and couldn't find his pockets, basically, and wouldn't put any money into the club. And that was one interesting thing that I found from the documentary, that Angus was basically saying that every month he has to ask Andrea for money to keep the club going, and every month Andrea sends him a check for £1.5 million.
Short-change that.
And I'm really wondering what's going through that fella's head who made that account.
Yeah, because it's a massive loss, leader. Having a football club, it just loses money. It doesn't make money at all. So I think we're running the right way now. And I think something that I saw in the documentary, which made me think, oh yeah, these guys are in for the long haul, is that, and this might sound really, really soppy and probably not based in anything, but Victor Orta and Andrea Radrizzani have got their monograms on the seats. So their actual seats have got their names on. It's just their initials. And it just makes you think, yeah, they're not here. They're not a GFH that's just going to lump us to the next bidder, the next Chileno that won't bother to read the accounts. So that, they are actually here to own a football club. So maybe I've read too much into 2 letters on a chair.
Those two, especially Victor and Angus, I think are here for the long haul. If we get sold to 49ers or QSI, maybe that changes. But I think they see a vision and they want to see that through.
So looking ahead then to the next week, and we play Fulham on Saturday, and Scott Parker. Can any of you guys do a Cockney accent?
Can't do the streets.
What is it? It's like apple.
Apples and pears. Yeah.
Apples and pears in it.
Oh, we're my bloodigan.
We're going to lose, but we'll give it a good go. We'll be positive about losing.
Looking to win the game.
Leeds are 3-5 to win.
I watched large parts of Leeds last year, and we played against them twice. It's going into fucking Australian. This is really bad.
Good day, mate. I'm just hoping that the Michael Jackson statue plays at centre back and makes a comeback.
I think he's called Tim Ream, and he does play centre back. Yeah. I'm going to eat my words when he scores from a corner against us, aren't I?
That's yeah. Rise at the back post.
Yeah.
But I think from injuries-wise, I think Coop's back, which is good. It'd be interesting to see which centre-back pairing he goes with, whether it's going to be Strauchorn and Cooper, or is it going to be Cock and Cooper? Cock and Cooper sounds like a
pub.
80s detectives like TV, doesn't it? With this one's Cock and this one's Cooper, and together they are Cock and Cooper, fighting crime, stopping balls.
I saw that Forshaw was back in training today, which I don't believe until I actually see it, video evidence of.
Yeah, I feel sorry for that guy because I think he'd be really valuable to us as well.
Yeah,
I think he'd be a really good player for us because he's played in the Prem as well. It's not like he's
he had a very good start to the season, didn't he, last year? So anyway, just quickly, Scott Parker, he said, I watched large parts of Leeds last year and we played against them twice. They're a physical, well-drilled team. I won't be surprised when they continue to do that for the rest of the year. Is it a concern? No, because I already know the challenge, and it's a challenge we're relishing. We'll go looking to win the game.
Oh, good on you, Scott.
So it's kind of like saying to a guy's like, so are you concerned about climbing Everest? Yep, we know Everest. It's a big mountain. A lot of people have died. Most of the signposts are actually based on the colour of dead people's boots. And we might not survive this. Are you concerned? No, not at all. We're absolutely fine.
We'll attack that mountain without our coats on and we'll be fine.
I'm just going to wear one
blood again.
How
you calling us Everest now?
We are for Fulham.
This is the type of shit that'll get us into trouble. I'm telling you.
Yeah,
definitely.
Please be nice in the edit, please.
Describing our team as the Mount Everest of challenges. When we fucking lose 4-1 on Saturday, I'll be generous. I'll give us a goal. 4-1 on Saturday, and then they'll be bringing it up, won't they?
If Richard Scott Parkins call us physical with fucking Mitrovic up front, smashing elbows into centre backs.
Yeah, that's why Ben White left. That's the only reason.
Yeah, can't bear it anymore.
Yeah, I'm going to go hide behind Dunk. Let's talk about DePaul. So DePaul responded to the square ball. So they're tweeting out every day. If you don't know about them, if you're the 2 or 3 people that are listening to us who don't know about the square ball, hello, hi. So they're tweeting to Rodrigo DePaul every day, saying hello and when are you coming to LUFC? And he did respond with a fingers crossed and hopefully soon or whatever. And then he got put in the naughty corner by his PR team and his account was deactivated. Yeah. So, thoughts on Rodrigo DePaul?
I don't think we had any sort of... I'm glad we didn't have Twitter when we were trying to sign Scaravi, because that would have just got really weird. But yeah, it seems to be the situation is that we've agreed terms with the player, but we're somewhere short of the fee with Adonis, and then we need to either pull the trigger or not. So I think we need to, because he looks like a really good player. He's got a tattoo of a dog on his leg, which is enough for me to buy him. But yeah, it's really weird that this is being played out on Twitter, especially if it doesn't happen now, because that's just going to be a saga that we refer to. Just get it done.
I've seen his stats up against, like, compared with Kevin De Bruyne, and I'm happy. Looks good.
We'll take him.
Yes. Spend the money.
Works for me. Yep.
Do it.
Let's sign a £40 million player. Let's do it.
Yes. And of course, he's going to get injured on the way over. Shortly, he'll sign, and then just as he's signed, on the last sort of flourish, he'll kind of break his wrist and...
No, he'll develop deep vein thrombosis on the flight over.
Yeah.
Play his first game looking like Thomas Brolin for
the Gypsy Leeds curse strikes again. Yeah, it didn't go very well. That he was like Brolin was the first big signing, I guess, we got from Italy. I don't remember another one, do I? I'm not sure you can call Bellucci or...
Hey, don't badmouth the Warrior, all right? Come on.
That was the Roaring Peacock main cast for Friday, the 18th of September. The week began with Liverpool Leeds 4-3. DePaul, fingers crossed, deactivated on Monday. By Wednesday, we were captaining Kiko in the Carabao Cup and losing on penalties to Hull. And Saiz scored against Barcelona. The next day, the documentary dropped. And that was your boring week with LUFC. Up ahead for the Roaring Peacock, we've got an interview with Sammy from the award-winning Fulhamish podcast to match preview the Fulham game on Saturday, and of course our match review, which will probably be out either very late on Saturday night or Sunday lunchtime when I wake up. Yeah. So it's a goodbye from Ross.
Goodbye.
And it's a goodbye from Alex.
Laters.
And I'm not saying goodbye. You're stuck with me forever. If you're proudly average, you can also follow us on at Peacocks Raw on Twitter or the Roaring Peacock on Facebook. We've just got a bunch of numbers on YouTube because we're not famous anymore. We never were, and we're not going to be. Thank you so much for listening to the Roaring Peacocks. Enjoy the rest of your day. Most of our stats come from LUFC Stats or LUFC Data on Twitter. You should probably give them a follow as they're more interesting than us. A very special thanks to Adam Elliot, Adam Warner, Barney, Stuart, Coca, Ed McIntyre, Ewan and Howard, Metcalf, Josh Pearson, Laura, Leon, Nige and Rob, The Light Show, and all our family and friends.